Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Sunday morning. It is magazine review day. So let's see what is next on the itinerary. Looks like we are on January 1988. Outstanding. So, January 88, and we got the introduction of both Virgil and Ted DiBiase. So this is pretty awesome because for those when I look at these magazines, I like to kind of incorporate the LJN wrestling superstars, right? So I like to think of Ted DiBiase as being part of LJN Series 5. Now, Virgil obviously was not part of the LJN line, but what was it? 2023, I want to say, when XOX Customs released their custom figure or their custom LJN figure of Virgil. It kind of gave you that valet or that manager type, that security of the $1 Million Man. So, and it kind of gave you this nice little get up here as well. Of course, when I think Virgil, I think the candy stripe boxer type Virgil. So he was always one of my favorite characters. I don't know, man. Virgil never got the appropriate love that I think he deserved. But I mean, he was someone I grew up watching. I always enjoyed his character. So, and him winning the $1 Million belt from Ted DiBiase, even though it was never really like a well-known or recognized championship belt, the $1 Million belt, well, to me, was always one of my most beloved championship belts, nonetheless. So, and of course, when I think championship belts, I only really recognize 3 official championship belts. That is the heavyweight championship belt, the intercontinental belt, and the heavyweight belt. So when you look at like modern day wrestling, and they've got like 20 million belts. It feels like in today's wrestling, you've got like hardcore champion and 24-hour champion and ECW champion and AEW champion and ECW. Did I say ECW already? But I don't know, man. There's always random belts. I don't know all of them. What is that one like that John Cena and Zack Ryder, all these guys, like the spinner belt and stuff? I don't know. There's all these random belts. I'm like, forget all of that. European champion. I'm like, come on. It feels like you've got 20 million superstars, and it seems like every single wrestler needs to have a championship belt around their waist. No, that's just too much. All right. Let's see what we got here. Honky Tonk Man vows to keep his belt. Battle of the Titans, Bam Bam wins 10-man Battle Royal. Well, that's kind of lame. Battle Royals, 20-man over the top. Royal Rumble's 30. What's up with the 10-man Battle Royal? No, that's nothing. Actually, this magazine, based on the cover alone, is actually one of my favorites. So, you know, this right here looks familiar. I think I got a signed George Steele poster. In fact, just kind of, I wonder if that's the exact same one. I think I actually bought this one from the New 80s Revolution on eBay like 3 years ago. And I wonder if that's the exact same one. I think it is. But I don't remember that being like, I don't remember seeing Ted DiBiase and Virgil on the backside. It could be. I mean, for all I know. But yeah, man, that signed George Steele. Yeah, I remember buying that from Jason Up probably, like I said, maybe 2-3 years ago off eBay. I mean, was it that long ago? Shoot. I mean, all these years, man, they can't bleed in together. But yeah, that's kind of nice to kind of have that reference right there. That's pretty cool. I'm telling you, every single time I come across a magazine, this darn advertisement makes me hungry for these ice cream bars. Now I'm really looking forward to getting into the 90s, especially the 91, 92 era, because that's like when my memories of wrestling is like really gonna start to kick in. I think 91, 92 for me, obviously, is the time when I'm old enough to actually start to remember wrestling. And that to me is like, for me, like the highlight era of wrestling. Now, 93, 94, I'm actually at a point where I'm old enough to like really appreciate wrestling. But 93, 94 is really at a point where wrestling is really starting to wind down, because around 95, 96, 97, around those years, I'm starting to lose interest in wrestling. So around 90 to 92 is really like the pinnacle point of wrestling fandom for me. So there really was about a 5-year period where I could have actually said like I was a major fan of wrestling. So the 90s is really the 1990 magazines is really what I'm really looking forward to. But these late 80s, especially, kind of getting into these magazines, this is pretty incredible. And seeing what's happening at this point, because this is refreshing a lot of freaking awesome memories, and I'm loving this. What's going on with these New Year's resolutions? Hillbilly Jim. Going to make more people happier this year than I did last year. Lame. King Kong Bundy, I always like to see what he has to say. To rid the world of all morons and fools like Ken Patera. Randy Savage, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Hulk Hogan. I still don't think that these guys are actually saying this. I think this is just kind of like what some editors are writing down, but I kind of feel like that's something that King Kong Bundy would say, so maybe. All right, Outback Jack, what do you got to say? Tame more of the wild elements of the World Wrestling Federation. When I lived in the Outback in Australia's Northern Territories, I fought Crocs in Buffalo, defeated them as well, mate. If I could do it there, I can do it here. True enough. Strike Force takes the titles. You know, I had the opportunity to get some of my custom LJNs looking like, the all pink Heart Foundation. So back when Eric Boyer was doing my custom Heart Foundation figures, he asked me if I wanted the all pink figures. I like the color. I do. I really like this particular color scheme. And if I ever do get like more custom Heart Foundation figures, which is very highly unlikely to be honest, but I didn't want this. To me, it was very, very simple, very plain. So when I commissioned him for my 2 Heart Foundation figures, looking at the Hasbro Series 8 Bret Hart figure, I wanted both Jim and Bret to have that particular color scheme. So, and the fact that it just took over 2 darn years to get that back, that's what sucked. Over 2 years, and God knows how many phone calls and text messages and just trying to get updates and like, hey man, what's going on? Any updates, any progress, and just no response. And, of course I paid for all that stuff up front, it's just like, and you guys saw those figures, man. Like, when I finally did get the package after about 10 million years, that stuff wasn't even complete. I was just so disappointed. So, but at some point, hey, I might get those Heart Foundation in all pink. Maybe going through like someone like Sin Bodhi or something. Oh, Sin Bodhi. When I'm talking about LJN customizers, Nick, you can find him, Sin Bodhi, on Facebook, of course. Especially if you're looking up any of these LJN Facebook groups or anything like that. But I've got a couple of pretty special LJN customs coming my way. And at the conclusion of the Tuesday shows, so probably when I start talking about it's going to be after the Series 6 show, of course. So probably the following week when I start talking about LJN prototypes and stuff like that. There are 2 figures I'm probably going to show off. One of them is going to be an MOC figure, and I don't think that figure existed, so it might be a specialty figure, but that figure I think is going to open up some eyes, and I think anyone that's interested in customs, if that doesn't get him noticed among my fan base, anyone that watches my channel, I'm going to be deeply surprised. Another one is going to be a personal request, but I'm hoping that it turns out exactly the way I'm planning, because if it does, my God, that's going to be a dream come true for me as far as LJN figure goes. I don't want any spoilers, but it's going to be something special. I'm really hoping that that they're complete and they arrive by the time that video comes out in about 2 or 3 weeks. Well, yeah, I'd say in about a month. Hopefully they're done in about a month, because that's probably when that video is going to be posted. So, and it's going to be special, guys. I'm hoping to have it by then. Let's see, looking at here, who can I name from this picture? Well, we got the top dogs. I can see Nikolai. We got Bam Bam. We got the Junkyard. Looks like Warrior, maybe. Can't really see his face, but all I see is the tassels. Looks like Hercules. Who is that? Nikita Volkov or Nikita, whatever his last name is. Looks like Orton, maybe. I don't know who that is on the ground. Maybe Don Morocco, perhaps. Or, yeah, maybe Don Morocco. Possibly. And I don't see no... Oh, here it is. Well, it gives you a few people, but they don't tell you everybody on here. Let's see who they got listed in this Battle Royal. So, participating, we had Junkyard Dog. Yep. We had Don Morocco, Outback Jack, Ultimate Warrior. We got the tag team with the Bolsheviks. One Man Gang, Hercules, Cowboy Bob Orton, Bam Bam Bigelow. Okay, I know there were more than just that. Alright, maybe not. I think they said 10 people. Who did we say won this one? Was it Bam Bam? Bam Bam wins 10-man, yep. Nice. Okay, now that right there, that's freaking cool right there, okay? That is freaking amazing. The Beast from the East, That is killer. I give Bam Bam a lot of credit with that look right there. How Heenan plans to beat the Hulkster. You know, if you ever see One Man Gang nowadays, like you actually see him back in the day, like late 80s, early 90s, right? You see him as One Man Gang, or if you see him as Akeem, that man had to be a good 500 pounds or darn near close to it, 480 or so. But I think he was a good 480, 500, 520 pounds, something. He was a good 6'10" or something. I mean, he was hovering a good close to 7 feet, 500 pounds. I mean, he was a big freaking dude. But you see him nowadays, like you see him in like YouTube videos, right? And you see him on these podcasts. Still, obviously, freaking tall. The man's a damn giant, but he has slimmed down like he's been on freaking Ozempic for the last 10 years or something. I mean, the man looks freaking good. Slimmed down like crazy. I mean, he's probably down to like 275, 300, which, I mean, he's still, you know, you up there in weight, of course, but like I said, when you're hovering around 7 darn feet, you're gonna have some weight on you. You can't be 7 feet tall and not have weight. That's just not gonna happen. But you go from 500 pounds to like 300. I mean, you're gonna see massive difference in girth and everything. So, like I said, the man has significantly slimmed down, and he looked amazing. I was so darn proud of him, seeing him in those videos. Who's this? Killer Khan? Killer Khan. That is so cool. You know, I from the Raider Nation, I just got that custom LJN maybe a couple months ago, and now all of a sudden in like all of my magazines, I'm coming across like all of these Killer Khan pictures in the magazines, and it's so freaking awesome that I'm finally having some kind of reference, you know, with that character. He's not someone that I grew up watching, so you know, I didn't have that knowledge or expertise with that particular character. So it's nice to have some kind of introductions. And you know, that's the thing. You're not going to have knowledge with every single person. You know, you didn't watch somebody, or, you know, growing up, you didn't watch somebody. It's like a baseball team, you know? You could be a baseball fan, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be knowledgeable of every single baseball player that's currently that's active during any particular baseball season, right? Heck, you may not even be familiar with every single player that's active on your own team's roster. So, I mean, I'm a Cubs fan, and I probably couldn't tell you half the players that are on the current 2025 roster. I mean, that tells you a lot. Of course, they've had a lot of turnover from 2024 to this year. Hopefully, it's the end of the darn Jed Hoyer year, you know, rule, because let's be honest, Jed Hoyer has not done anything to solidify his existence as a Cub general manager or president of baseball operations after Theo Epstein, because he was really riding the coattails of Theo Epstein, and yeah, like I said, but that's a baseball discussion, right? Ah, heck. What'd you do to Elizabeth now? Bruno. Now tell me why Bruno is over here looking like Frankenstein. Love it, love it, love it. George. Yeah, no history with George Steele. And the only reference I have with George Steele, like I said, I've gone back and watched that WrestleMania 2 tape and his match with Randy Savage. So boring. And I had a feeling it would be, but I was actually looking forward to that because they're two superstars. But you were really hoping that there would be something more to take away from that match. But George Steele had this like obsession. At least his character, his gimmick, had his obsession with Elizabeth. But I don't know what's up with the whole eating the turnbuckle thing. Crazy. Yes. Love it. Love the red face paint. Thank you. Love getting these old pictures with the axe, with the demonic face paint, with the Lucifer devil face paint, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, axe with gray face and the red eyes from like the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, that's how I remember Axe. So seeing Axe with like the red face paint, I mean, that's not the Axe I remember, but I still love that look so much. Day with Ken Patera. Man, you look at Ken Patera here, he is definitely off the juice. You look at his LJN figure, and that man is like Ultimate Warrior. It's crazy. Like you think about Ultimate Warrior in like early. Think about Ultimate Warrior as like during his like Dingo Warrior days, right? And compare Ultimate Warrior and like Lex Luger or someone like even like Kerry Von Erich. And these guys are all ripped like crazy. And whether Vince McMahon was just like supplying all these guys with like steroids, and these guys were all significantly ripped, like insane bodybuilder types. Yeah, and there's actually, this ongoing rumor or joke or whatever you want to call it. You look at Ultimate Warrior in the early 90s, like he was out of the WWF for a few months, and when he came back, there was this rumor or belief that the Ultimate Warrior was dead, and that he was at least replaced, and that Jim Hellwig was Kerry Von Erich. Because you look at the Ultimate Warrior, he was just this big, huge, buff dude, and then suddenly he comes back a few months later, and he's just completely slimmed down. His muscle tone is like completely gone. He's still like this built, strong guy, right? But his muscle capacity is significantly reduced, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a kid, I remember that most definitely. I remember those rumors. And this is all pre-internet, right? And it's like I seen this thing on Facebook recently, and it's like, and it's funny because I kind of feel the same thing about that wrestling rumor. It's like the rumor about what was his name? Darn, the kid from darn it. Dang, what the heck is the show? The Wonder Years. Paul being Marilyn Manson. And like every school in the world thought that Paul from Wonder Years was Marilyn Manson. Like, like whoever started that rumor, right? But that was the belief for like so many years. Or the rumor that Marilyn Manson removed his ribs so he could. We know that rumor, right? Don't have to go into detail. Like who started that rumor? Yet every single kid in like every single school around the world knew that rumor. There was no social media, yet everybody knew about that. So I think about that stuff, and I think about the whole Ultimate Warrior story and the whole Ultimate Warrior's dead story, and like who is this fake Ultimate Warrior in the ring? A couple years later, here's this fake purple Undertaker in the ring. Kind of same thing, you know, it's sort of deal. But kind of go back into detail with this Ken Patera look. Obviously, in the 90s, when Congress was kind of like investigating WWF and Vince McMahon, they had to stop dishing out all these drugs, dishing out all these steroids. So everyone had to go off of steroids, right? So Hogan and Warrior and just all of these guys that were synonymous, Lex Luger, etc. All of these guys in the 90s that were juicing up had to basically stop. And Lex Luger obviously was later on, because Lex Luger, I don't think he joined WWF until like 93 or something, if I had to guess. But anyways, so all these guys that were like super buff in the 80s, early 90s, you obviously see them much more, their strength has obviously looked so much more different, you know, later on. And when I look at Ken Patera here in 87, January 88, compared to much earlier magazines of him where he's like huge, or if I look at his LJN figure where he's absolutely enormous, and I look at this picture where he's just like an ordinary guy. Like, he could be your next door neighbor type of dude. He doesn't look like any, you know, run-of-the-mill guy. He just looks like a normal guy who just goes to the gym type of dude. He doesn't look like, you know, you're out of the ordinary, you know, gym rat type of guy. So I basically said a lot to kind of say a very small amount there at the end. Yeah, I tend to do that. Sorry. WWF Lowdown. What we got? This is a good picture of the Warrior. I like this a lot. What does it say about him? Warrior is impressive. Yeah. Jim Powers and Paul Roma, the young stallions, crank it up. I think that's pretty much it. Just got a few more pages here. That is a brand new color scheme for Coco Beware. If that's some kind of like prototype or whatnot, I really want that. Actually, I think almost all of these are prototypes. So SD Jones, his face looks different, I think. I don't think that yeah, his face looks different, I think. Okay, I don't remember. I gotta look at the figure, but I think Johnny Valiant's hand is like closed or whatnot. I don't remember his. Yeah, I gotta go look at the figures now, because I think that might be different. And I think even the pants on here is different color. And I think his face might be a little bit different. But yeah, at least Coco Beware is a clear, obvious difference. I mean, his whole outfit is different. I mean, this is all blue, and obviously his actual LJN figure was all red. So, well, that's a custom that I need to get done now, because obviously I want prototypes and variants, right? So now I gotta take a picture of that, get that sent out to be worked on. Outstanding. Is that Blackjack Mulligan? No, that's Ron Bass. Should have noticed with the darn outlaw whip and whatnot right here. Does it say his name somewhere? Oh, there it is. Stupid me. Oh god, I'm so dumb. Literally right there at the top. Look at Harley. Nice. Okay, this was a fun magazine. I like this one a lot. And awesome cover. Fun magazine to go through. A lot to talk about. Almost 32 minutes. So I like this one a lot to go through. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you guys in the comments. See you in the next video. Until next week, guys.